Hi everybody, welcome to Live Blogger. In the previous video, we started designing this page right here using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So this is how it looks right now. We have designed everything, but we need to add the animation and also the functionality of this menu icon and also make it responsive. So here we can see we have this animation for this page when we reload the page. And we also have the functionality of this menu icon. So we will do all of this in this video. Let's get started. Now the first thing we will do is we will add the functionality of this menu icon. But before that, we need to design this menu container over here. So if you go back to our HTML file, here we can see that we have created this division with the class of menu icon, and in that we have the close icon and these links. So first of all, let's style this menu container. I think we had added some styles for the menu container over here. So here we have set the display to none. So I just remove this, and we will set the display to flex, and let's set the position to fixed, and let's set the top position to 0, and let's set the right position to 0. And now we can see we have the menu container division displayed over here. Now we need to set the height of the element to 100 viewport height, and we'll also add a background color of white. Right now we need to display all these elements one below the other. So let's type flex direction and let's set it to column. And we'll also add a fixed width for the element. So let's set the width to 300 pixels. And we'll also add some gap between the elements. So let's add a gap of 30 pixels. And let's set the font size of all the text to 28 pixels. And we need to bring this above all the other elements. So let's type Z index and let's set it to 300. And let's also add some padding. So let's type padding and let's set the padding to 60 pixels. Now let's make all of this uppercase. So let's type text transform uppercase. Right now let's go ahead and remove the underlines. So let's target the anchor tags inside the menu container. So let's type menu container A and text decoration none. And let's set the color of all the text to 1F, 1F, 1F. Now when we hover over this, we need to have this underline and also change the color of the text. So let's go ahead and type menu container A colon hover, and let's type text decoration underline, and let's set the color of the text to this blue color right here. And now we can see that the hover effect is working all right. Now we need to position this close icon to the right side at the top over here. But before that, let's go ahead and bring this to the center of this division. So here, let's type justify content to the center. And now it is not exactly in the center. So for that, we have to also type box sizing, border box. And now it is exactly in the center. And we need to position this close icon over here at the top right. So let's target the close icon. And for that, we have this division with the class of close icon. So let's type menu container, close icon, and let's set the position to absolute, and let's set the top position to 32 pixels and the right position to 32 pixels. And let's also add a padding of 8 pixels and cursor to pointer. So that's it with our close icon. Now let's also add some box shadow for this menu container. So here, let's type box shadow and let's set the value to negative 50 pixels, 0, 60 pixels, negative 8 pixels, RGBA, 0, 0, 0 and 0.4. And now we can see we have this box shadow. Now by default, we will position this menu container to the right of the screen, And when we click on the menu icon, we want it to be displayed from the right side to this current position. And we'll also set the opacity to 0 at the beginning. So here let's type opacity 0 and let's tap transform translate X and let's set it to 100%, which is outside the screen. So right now the menu container is outside the screen on the right side. Now when we click on this menu icon, we will add a class called active to the menu container. So let's add the styles for that. I'll just type menu container dot active, and here we'll just reset the transform translate X. So let's tap transform translate X 0, and we'll also set the opacity to 1, and we need to have a smooth transition. So let's tap transition, and let's set the value to all 300 milliseconds ease in out. Right now if we go back to our HTML, and here if we add a class called active to the menu container, now we can see that the menu container is being displayed, and if we remove the active class, it is hidden. So let's go ahead and quickly add the functionality of this menu icon. So for that, we need to reference the menu container because we need to add and remove the active class. We need to also reference the close icon because we need to remove the active class. And then we also need to reference the menu icon. So let's reference all of these elements in our JavaScript file. So we have already linked it over here. So let's type const menu container equals document.querySelector menu container, and const menu icon equals document.querySelector nav menu icon, and then we need to have the close icon. So let's type const close icon equals document.querySelector menu container close icon. Right now we need to add an event listener to this menu icon. So let's type menu icon dot add event listener, and let's listen for the click event, and here let's create an arrow function, and we need to add the active class to the menu container. So let's type menu container dot class list dot add active. Right now let's add an event listener to this close icon. So let's type close icon dot add event listener, and let's listen for the click event, and let's create an arrow function, and here we need to remove the active class from the menu container. So let's type menu container dot class list dot remove active, and let's test and see whether this works. So let's click on this menu icon, and we have the menu container displayed, and if I click on this close icon, it goes back. So it is working all right. Now let's make this page responsive. So let's go back to our CSS file, and let's create a media query. So let's type at media, and let's set the max width to 900 pixels. So whenever the width of the browser window is less than 900 pixels, all these tiles inside this block will be added to our design. So the first thing we will do is we will change the font size of the headings. So let's type hero h2 colon first child, and let's go back and decrease the browser width a little bit. Now if you want to see the width of the browser window, you can just go ahead and open the inspector, and now if we decrease or increase the width of the browser window, here you can see that on the top right corner we can see that the width and the height of the browser window is displayed. So let's go a little bit less than 900 pixels, and let's go back, and here let's set the font size to 240 pixels, and let's set the bottom position. So here we have set the bottom position to 200 pixels, and let's set the font size to 240 pixels. So here we can see that we had set it to 300 pixels. Here we can see now we have a smaller font size. For the larger screens, we have larger font size. Alright, let's do the same for the second h2. So let's type hero h2 colon last child, and let's set the font size to 140 pixels, and let's also change the bottom position a little bit. So here we have set it to 60 pixels. So here let's type bottom, and let's set it to 80 pixels, and I think that looks all right. Right now, let's add one more media query for 700 pixels. So let's copy this and let's paste it down here. And here let's type 700. And let's decrease the width of the browser window even more. And here, let's set the font size to 180 pixels for the first heading. And for the second heading, let's go ahead and change the font size to 90 pixels. And let's also change the height of the image. So let's type hero img. And let's set the height to 90 viewport height. And this is how it looks. So now it is completely responsive. Right now, the last thing we need to do is add the animation that you see at the beginning. So if you go back, here we can see we have this animation for all these elements. So let's add that. Now for the animation, let's create a keyframe. So let's tap add keyframes. And for the name, I'll just name it anim. And here we can add the keyframes for the animation. So we can type 0%, 1%, up to 100%. And if you're writing 100%, you can just type 2 instead of 100%. And for 0, you can just type from. So I'll just type 2. And we'll just add the last state over here. So here we will set the opacity to 1. And we'll also reset the transform translate. So let's type transform translate. And let's set it to negative 50% and 0. And now let's go ahead and add this animation. So here for the first H2, by default we will set the y-axis value to 120 pixels. And this is where this element starts at the beginning. And we'll also set the opacity to 0 at the beginning. And here let's add the animation. So let's type animation. And we have named it anim. And we will run it for 1900 milliseconds. And we'll set the easing to ease. And then we need to type forwards so that the animation stays at the last state. And now we can see we have the animation. So let's refresh the page. So we have the animation for the first heading. Right now let's go ahead and add the animation for the second heading. Now for the second heading, if you go back to the original design, here we can see that it comes from the right side to the left. So for that, let's go over here to the second H2. And we need to change the initial position of this x-axis. So let's type calc negative 50% plus 100 pixels. And this is where it starts. So let's set the opacity to 0. And let's add the animation. So I'll just copy this. And let's paste it down here. And for this one, let's set the duration to 1000 milliseconds, which is 1 second. And now if you go back, here we can see that both the animations are starting at the same time. Now we need to add some delay for the second animation. So here, let's tap animation delay and let's set the delay to 500 milliseconds. And now we can see that the animation starts a little late for the second H2. Right now, let's add the animation for the image. So if you go back to the original design, we can see that the image also comes in from the right side. So let's scroll up and here we have the image. So here in the x-axis, we need to change the value. So let's type calc negative 50% plus 200 pixels. And we will set the opacity to 0 by default. And we'll set the animation to anim. And for the duration, I'll just type 500 milliseconds. And let's set it to ease forwards. And let's also add an animation delay. So let's type animation delay. And let's set it to 600 milliseconds. So this is how it looks. And everything looks all right. Alright, so with that, we have completed creating this animated homepage using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Alright, so that's basically it for this video. I will leave the link of the source code in the description of this video. And if you have any doubts, you can ask in the comments below. And if you like this video, please click on the like button and subscribe to this channel to get the latest video updates. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.